You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month last 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, July 9th. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching the show, wherever you are, or however you are taking part in the show. We greatly appreciate your guys' support. It's a beautiful Wednesday. We're nearly halfway through the work week. The weekend will be here before we know it. We've got another great show for you today right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. That helps us out a ton. And then tell all your friends about what we're doing each and every weekday at 10 a.m. Also, we are streaming live on X. X has been very, very good to us. We talk about this every day, but make sure you are being interactive with the show as well. On social media, Instagram as well, Facebook as well, but especially with the YouTube chat that we have going on. And then X is an easy way to do so as well. So be interactive with the show each and every day as well. We're also streaming on the WHO streaming app. Welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa. We appreciate you guys watching each and every day as well. And we're also on all the podcasting platforms as well. So wherever you get your podcasts, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, whether it's Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show each and every day as well. It's been a busy week here on OTA. We like that. We enjoy that. On Monday, we had Pat Anger. We had John Deere Classic tournament director Andrew Lehman, also Craig DeVries as well, to talk about the John Deere Classic, a successful John Deere Classic as well. And then also a fun interview with Austin Chesney. He was at the Savannah Bananas over the weekend and won a 50-year-old sprint down Kinnick Stadium. If you missed it on social media, go check it out. He killed it. He was awesome and energetic and fun on the show on Monday as well, so go check that out. Yesterday, Tom Kakert chatted with us before he headed out to Vegas. He'll be following basketball recruiting the next couple days, so make sure you're locked in with Tommy on at Hawkeye Report on X, because he'll have a bunch of stuff out there. We also had the North baseball team on. We had head coach Colin Karstens and their standout senior, one of their captains, Bryce Pauly as well. Bryce should be hearing his name in the Major League Baseball draft over the weekend, so we wish him the best. If you missed that, go check that out. Also got caught up on our FCA stories of the week. Normally they're on Wednesdays. We have one for you today. We missed last Wednesday because of the John Deere Classic, so we got caught up with that as well. As for today's show, we have a familiar face coming up in a matter of moments because it was a busy morning in Iowa City yesterday. The Iowa women had an open practice for the media, about 45 minutes, had player availability afterwards. If you went and you scrolled through social media, a ton of talk about the Iowa women's basketball team and a ton of talk about Journey Houston. Lysandra Barrett, the assistant coach for the Iowa Hawkeyes, talked with the media and mentioned Journey as one of those players that has impressed and grown and got even better over the offseason. So a lot of Journey Houston love yesterday. We love that as well. Journey's one of our favorites. Been on the show several times. So got to cover her throughout her high school career as well. So we'll talk with Kyle Huesmann about Journey Houston and the rest of the Iowa women's basketball team after their second practice open to the media is the best way to put it. Also coming up today, the men are doing the same. We'll talk about that in a second as well. So Kyle Huesmann will be along in just a matter of moments. Also coming up on the show, a couple weeks ago was a crummy time for radio around the state of Iowa, here in the Quad Cities. I know in Des Moines as well. A lot of people, a lot of familiar names affected by the iHeart layoffs happened in Des Moines. Next day it happened here in the Quad Cities. Several Quad City radio legends found themselves without a job, including Mark Manuel. I've known Mark for a long time. I grew up listening to Mark as Malibu Mark Manuel on All Hit 98.9. So Mark will be here coming up later in hour number 1 to talk about his journey in radio, how he's bouncing back. I want to celebrate what he's done so far. He ain't done yet, but I want to talk to him about his journey. It's a really cool journey and just about everything that's happened in the last couple weeks as well. So Mark Manuel will be on the show coming up in just a little bit as well. We mentioned that FCA story of the week, and then yesterday on the show I mentioned at the very end a new list. I believe CBS Sports has the top 25 NFL players under the age of 25. And I highlighted it a little bit of it, and I've gotten a couple messages saying, hey, you need to hit on that more or maybe go through it a little more. So we're going to do that coming up in hour number 2, kind of talk about, maybe even go through the list of 25 to 1, a couple Bears, a couple Lions, no Packers, no Vikings. A former Hawkeye is on the list as well. So we'll get to all of that coming up a little bit later on in hour number 2 of the show. A little news and notes before we get rocking and rolling too much. Coming this morning, and I looked and found that according to John Rothstein, there is a new non-conference opponent for the Illinois basketball team this upcoming season. Fran McCaffrey and Penn will make their way to Champaign, Illinois on November 5th to take on the Fighting Illini. Of course, they met in the first round of the NCAA tournament this past season. Fran McCaffrey, no stranger to Big Ten basketball. Obviously, the Fighting Illini has a great relationship with Brad Underwood, so kind of a cool thing to see. Fran McCaffrey and Penn going to Champaign November 5th to take on the Illini. So I thought that was a cool matchup early in the season. I'm telling you, the college basketball is doing a great job. Obviously, things changing throughout when it comes to the NIL and transfer portal, but scheduling has been great. You look at Iowa alone, and they got the Alabama game, they got Creighton, they've got Big Ten matchups. Illinois is the same. They're playing a ton of great teams before the Big Ten starts. Penn is it a big time matchup? Is it a resume building matchup? Probably not. But it's a cool matchup and a familiar matchup. And so instead of going to the State Farm Center and watching Illinois destroy Northeast South Louisiana Tech University by 40, and there'll be plenty of those, this is kind of fun to see a Fran McCaffrey come back to the Big Ten and take on Illinois and Brad Underwood in Champaign. So good stuff there. We mentioned the Iowa men. They're having an open scrimmage for the media, open practice to the media coming up a little bit later on this morning. Coming up tomorrow on the show, hoping to track down Tyler Tachman to talk about what he learned today as well. So yesterday it was the women taking center stage. Today the men. I think these practices that they open up to the media are really important. Keeps their program, their product on top of everyone's mind. Obviously the Iowa women's basketball program over the last 5-6 years has just skyrocketed, and there's a continued interest. I can tell you that from just the numbers we do on the show. And when we talk Iowa women's basketball, when we have a Journey Houston on the show, or we have a Sydney Falter on the show, or Lysandra Barrett on the show, the numbers show it. And I can tell you with men's basketball, especially after the Elite Eight run, that has skyrocketed as well. So it keeps your product, it keeps fans interested, excited about the upcoming season. So I love that the University of Iowa does these, and hopefully we'll catch up with Tyler Tachman tomorrow on the show and kind of get his information, his feedback. I think there's 7 players available for the media after the practice to chat with today. So a lot of good things should be coming from Iowa City when it comes to some updates on the Iowa men's basketball program in just a little bit. Some Major League Baseball, the Cubs won their second straight. They're now 51-40, so 11 games over 500. The Cardinals got swept at home by the Brewers. The Brewers 7 games up over the Cubs in the NL Central as we speak here on July 9th. So a lot of baseball left to be played, but we're getting there. We're over the halfway point of the season. The All-Star break coming soon. So I don't know if we're over. Yeah, I guess we are 51-40. So we're over the halfway point of the season when it comes to Major League Baseball. We mentioned that yesterday, or today, I should say, the men took center stage when it comes to Iowa basketball. Yesterday, it was a open media practice in Iowa City. And of course, we saw someone very familiar there that can give us a lot of information, a lot of insight right now. So joining us now to talk a lot of Iowa women's basketball and men's basketball, because Tom is in Vegas and Kyle is here to do all the work. Kyle Huesmann joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad. I don't know. You always make it seem like Tom does nothing. He's out there working, right? He's doing some basketball stuff. So, but yeah, I'm here still in Iowa City, so I've got to do the men's basketball and the women's basketball this week for the open media practice, which I guess is a good. It's fine because that means we're still able to go to practice and stuff. So I could be sitting at home doing nothing if they didn't let us do it at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to get to the women in a second. Quickly, John Deere Classic thoughts. I know personally you hadn't been there for a few years or ever. So your first time out there on Thursday, and then I know you love golf. We talked a little bit about last week, but your thoughts on Chris Gotterup and a fantastic Sunday.
Yeah, I had a fun time on Thursday. It was just so brutally hot. I mean, we got there at like 7 a.m. and left around 12:30. Would have loved to stay all day and watch Zach Johnson play because he had a great round, and obviously Chris Gotterup had a good round. And there were a couple of pretty good groups there in the afternoon, but it was just too hot to stay. But yeah, I had been there, over a decade ago, probably with the one other time that I'd went. Okay. So now that I am like consistently playing golf and watching golf every weekend, it was fun to be out there and just watch the course and be with my dad, who I went with, and we're able to talk about each hole and like talk about like as if we were playing there and stuff like that. So that was really fun. In terms of the golf tournament itself, I thought it was kind of what we talked about last week, where there were a couple of the big names that were in the field that actually were in it towards the end, and then obviously Gotterup winning it. But seeing Max Homa make a run there late and having a chance, that's what the tournament needed was to have a couple of those big name guys in it down the stretch on Sunday. And man, I feel bad for Ben Coles. I mean, that's to hit that ball in the water on 18, and I saw not long out off his club, I said, "Oh my God, he hit it in the water." And yeah, so I mean, he goes from the payout for winning was like 1.8 million. I think he ended up getting like right around 450,000. So for a guy like him that's predominantly playing on the Korn Ferry Tour, that really sucks. But yeah, like I said, I think it was really good to have a couple of those big names with Homa and obviously Gotterup winning it. I think it played out about as well as I think you could have hoped for, instead of like having a stacked with like Spieth and Zach Johnson finished tied for ninth. So I shouldn't say that he wasn't in it. And, Ben Griffin ended up bouncing back, and Ricky Fowler had a decent weekend. So I thought, for the most part, the big names were at least decent, had decent showings.
Yeah, Blades Bryan, who's gonna be really good, was top 10-ish, something like that. So a great leaderboard down the stretch. I will say this, and then we'll get to women's basketball. I don't know if I want to say I was rooting against Ben Coles, but I'm rooting for Chris Gotterup for the tournament, and maybe for a bet I made that morning. And I said, I did. I'm like, man, you can see him go to the drink here. Now, I was happy. I don't want to say happy. I was okay with him going into the drink. I didn't need to see him 3-putt after that. I felt bad about that. Like, not only did he go into the drink, but then he 3-putted. And I don't think it affected him too much when it came to maybe the overall stand. Maybe it did. Did he fall below?
Yeah, he was. Had he made that, had he not 3-putted, he would have tied for second. So he tied for third.
Oh.
Yeah, that missed putt for what would have been for bogey or it would have been bogey, right?
Yeah.
Did he double it?
Yeah,
his putt for bogey that he missed net Max Homa like $350,000.
Jeez, I didn't even think about that till right now. I'll also say this, and I know it's where it goes into the pond, but it's weird that he went into the pond and then his ball was on the green. Like, if that's the case, I'm going to put my ball.
We had like the double box up watching the World Cup as well. Was he standing on like a sprinkler head? Is that why he got to move it again?
No, I don't know if he got to move it again, but basically it's where the ball
dropped
goes in.
And then he dropped again. He dropped twice.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I'm going to assume.
I was wondering if there's a sprinkler header over there or something, and then he got to redrop. Yeah, because he ended up on the green.
Yeah, and then I'm like, well, he's got this putt. He can still. No, it's a tough putt, but okay. That's our golf segment. On to women's basketball. You guys got a glimpse at 45 minutes of Iowa women's practice yesterday. I guess I'll start with, was it any different than the prior one? Did you see more? Was there more action? Were there more scrimmaging, or was it kind of the same as last time?
No, it was different from last time. Last time was really kind of slower going with actual like individual drills set around actual like certain actions within the read and react offense. And today, there wasn't scrimmaging or anything like that, but they did some half court live reps against the male practice squad. Again, just kind of running the offense. So we got to see some stuff. And I think the big takeaway is that this is still very much a work in progress. I mean, it's July 7th or July 8th. So it's one of those where they're still trying to. You got so many new pieces, and like I think we talked about last time, it's Taylor Strimel and Ava Heiden are the only two that have ever run this offense. Everyone else is either wasn't on the roster when they ran it last time, or they're newcomers. So there's a lot of players learning this offense potentially for the first time in their life, unless they ran it at a different school or in high school or something like that. So you'll see possessions in the live reps where you're like, wow, that was really good. They ran the reads correctly. It looked really good. And then you'll see another possession where someone does the wrong read, or someone, there's miscommunication. And that's going to happen as they continue to, not only the on-court chemistry with these players, as they still get to learn each other's games, but as they learn this offense and try to get it down in their heads. Because I ran the read and react in AAU and in high school, not nearly as in-depth as they did. And it is an offense where, if you have miscommunications or you don't read it correctly, their turnovers can happen. Passes that look like, where are you throwing it to? Things like that can happen. It's just because it was a little miscommunication or didn't read the defense correctly. I think you saw that at times in practice yesterday, where there's stuff that little hiccups that you're like, as they continue to run this, tomorrow, the next day, practices from all the way up until the beginning of the season, they're going to continue to get better, especially the players that have never been in that offense before. So got to see a little bit of stuff. Nothing like up and down the court, things like that. I should say, I thought McKenna Velichko shot the ball really well again. They did some prior to some of the live reps. They were doing some other, drill work stuff, and I thought, she shot it well. Again, they're just kind of the drills and things like that, but they had male practice players closing out on them and things like that. And again, still looked really good with the shot. Knocked down a bunch of them. I'm not keeping track. I'm not jotting down, shooting percentages on the sideline or something. But I thought she shot it really well. And that's going to be a big thing if they can rely on her to not only shoot the mid-range but make some threes. And Journey Houston, I thought, shot it really well as well. And Lysandra Barrett mentioned that after practice. Those are the two players that they really need in this move from the high-low to this 4-out-1-in. Your four is going to be on the perimeter playing. I would actually say that the forwards are the ones that have the biggest change from the move to the high-low to the 4-out-1-in. The guards are always playing on the perimeter. The center's never going to be on the three-point. Ava Heiden's not going to be shooting threes. Layla Hayes not going to be shooting threes. But the move in this offense makes the forwards go from predominantly playing kind of in that post area to like the free throw line to now they're on the perimeter. So they need Velichko and Houston to be able to make those perimeter shots and make some three-pointers. And I thought they shot it really well. But yeah, like I said, it's going to continue to be a work in progress as the summer goes along. If there are people that watched, I think I posted almost 10 minutes of practice footage. There's going to be some segments in there where people are going to look at it and go, oh boy, that looked pretty bad. You just have to understand this read and react offense really takes a lot of time to really get down and really understand those details and get that communication right. It's not even really communication. It's just kind of that, that sixth sense in some certain situations to read the defense correctly and stuff like that. And as they continue to go along this summer, it'll get a lot better.
Yeah, it's funny. If anyone is watching Kyle's 8-minute to 10-minute video of a July practice in Worry, then they have way too much time on their hand. Kyle Huesmann joining us on Update with Matt Randazzo. I told y'all that Journey can shoot it, and I love to hear that. I went to my social media early afternoon on Tuesday, and I just scrolled, and it was Journey Houston, breakout. Obviously, Lysandra Barrett mentioned her to the media about somebody that stood out. Can you talk more about that conversation? What coach kind of relayed to the media about what they've seen from the Davenport North standout going into her sophomore season?
Yeah, it's one of those where last season, Journey Houston, and we've talked about this several times, where Journey is very much wanted to play on the perimeter. And they basically told her, if you're going to be on the court as a freshman, you need to try to carve out a role at the 4. And Journey openly said it yesterday when we talked to her that, at first she wasn't real happy with that, didn't really want to play that position, and then realized, hey, this is what the team needs. If Hannah Stolke gets in foul trouble, we don't really have a true person there to kind of back her up, and that could be me in that spot. And she filled that spot very well last year. And so she did a really good job last year of kind of taking, as a freshman, how can I get on the court? And she found a way to do that. And then Lysandra mentioned that so far through the spring and into the summer, she might be the one that's in the gym the most. And working with Coach Randy Henderson, who she mentioned, she's in there with her a lot. And for Journey, her defensive position might not change. She's still going to be playing the 4 a decent amount. She'll play the 3 on defense as well. But on the offensive end, she can play the 3 and the 4, and she's going to be on the perimeter either way. So that she's a big beneficiary of this move in offensive systems, is that she can still play the same position as she was playing last year, but now she'll be on the perimeter where she wants to be. And she talked a little bit about, having a chip on her shoulder from not being making the Big Ten all-freshman team. The coaches, she felt like she put in the work to be in that conversation, just didn't get that So maybe that's a little bit of a driving force for some of her offseason improvements. But certainly, as you mentioned, she could shoot it at Davenport North. Now 2 years ago, she was doing that. And I know she was a decent, mid 30% 3-point shooter at North. But when you have a year off where you only shoot 6-8 threes last season, only 6 or 8 attempts, you have to get back in the flow of being consistent and being able to shoot that in practices instead of trying to go back to last year where it's like, oh, they don't really expect me to shoot this. They're going to need her to shoot this season. So, like I said, it's good to see her shooting it well in practice. I really just enjoy Journey Houston's mindset, getting to talk to her about, like I said, last year where she wasn't really in a position that she wanted to be in, but she knew that's where she was going to get time on the floor. And I thought she did a great job last year as a rebounder and as the season went on as a scorer. I mean, she really shot the mid-range effectively throughout the season, and it got better as the season went on. But I really enjoy hearing her talk about, some of the stuff about, maybe the role wasn't what she wanted last year, but she never thought about entering the portal. She said that she's someone that really likes to see things through. And now with the offensive change to this new 4-out 1-in, she's going to be a big beneficiary of it. So really, like I said, and you've had her on the show before. I always like listening to her talk about some of that stuff because she kind of has that mold of that I don't know if you call it old school at this point, the pre-portal, where it's like, if I'm going to be here, I got to earn my spot. I got to, I'm going to have to, whether it's in a position I don't want to be in right away, that's the way I earn minutes. And then when I'm a junior, when I'm a senior, and for her as a sophomore, potentially even, that's when you get to earn those minutes that you truly deserve at the position that you want to play. So it's kind of refreshing because I grew up, I grew up with that mindset. That was what I was always taught in sports. Like, you got to earn your position. And I think it's gone away from that. Now is more, some of it is like, just enter the portal and I'll go play somewhere or something like that. So it's always refreshing to hear Journey talk about, her mindset towards things.
No, absolutely. I think I got done speaking to her one time and I was like, man, she would have been I'm surprised most people would be out the door and she wouldn't, she didn't even think about it. She kind of talked about that as like, I'm here to earn it. I'm not going to run from it. All of those type of things that you love to see. She is a walking soundbite, isn't she? She just gives the bites that you're like, I love that.
I think her mindset, again, maybe not as a player. Well, they play similar positions. I think her mindset is very similar to like a Sid Fulter, where Sid could have left 2-3 times even maybe from Iowa, and she never did. And then it eventually, it came around later than I think it will for Journey, because I think she's going to have a big role this season already. But Sid Fulter could have left as after a freshman year, could have left after her sophomore year, and she stuck it out. I think they, in terms of mindset, are very similar. And now Sid's on the coaching staff, so maybe that's part of it. But that would be kind of my comparison. Who I draw to is someone that's like, yeah, that's another person that stuck around when they could have left as well.
It's funny you bring that up. I had Sid on the show a couple times, but last one I said, your thoughts on Journey, and she's just like, she is a dog, and I love her. I mean, it's funny how you can see the same comparison. Kyle Huesmann joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You guys got to chit-chat with chit-chat. See what I did there? That's great writing right there. What did you get from the now second year point guard at Iowa that has that year at Iowa City and in the Big Ten under her belt? Anything different change? Just your thoughts of your conversation with chit chat.
Yeah, so we had already heard from Jan a couple weeks ago. I don't remember what that was, 2 weeks ago when we talked to Jan after the first practice, and Jan mentioned that chit chat had been using her voice a bit more. And they were really happy with that, how she'd kind of come into this summer, maybe a little bit more confident in using her voice. And I think a lot of that is from having that year under her belt in the Big Ten on this roster, knowing kind of what to expect now going into year 2. And really, it's year 3 of her college career. So she does have quite a bit of experience built up. Was a starter at the back half of the season at Georgia Tech as a freshman. And then we heard the same thing from Lysandra Barrett. We talked to Lysandra before the players. And Lysandra kind of said the same thing. She's really speaking up, a bit more of a leader for this team. We go to talk to Chit Chat, and it's night and day difference. And not to say that Chit Chat was bad last year in terms of talking to us, but you could tell at times, a little bit shy, a little bit nervous at times. Completely different when we talked to her yesterday. You can tell that there's something that has flipped with her in terms of just being more confident in using her voice, not even just on the court, but just talking to us and being able to explain things, better than she did a year ago. And that's just a huge change that I noticed right off the bat. With the first answer that she had, immediately my first thought was, wow, that was better than any answer she gave last season. So certainly the voice side of things. And the other thing that Lysandra said, and then Chit Chat confirmed it, Lysandra said that she talked with Chit Chat, and Chit Chat was just rewatching that Virginia game over and over after the season ended. And I thought at first maybe it was exaggerated a bit, like how many times did she actually watch it? So I asked her, she said you watched it like every day. And she said, yeah, it's true. I watched it a lot of times.
Wow.
So you talk about journey with the all freshman team kind of being that chip on the shoulder. We talked about Taylor Stremlow. I think Taylor was like 1 of 10 from 3 against Virginia. We talked about how that loss really has sat with Taylor a lot. And then all of a sudden you have Chit Chat rewatching the game over and over. And she said, just rewatching it to look at all the things that, not necessarily because it is in the past. You can't go back and beat Virginia and continue on in the NCAA tournament. But she said she just wanted to watch it in terms of what did I do wrong in that game? What can I get better at that didn't go well in that game? And that's what she's kind of tried to do so far this summer, is try to fix some of those things that went wrong in that game. And all of a sudden you start looking at it and you're like, man, this roster has a lot of players that all of a sudden have like this extra chip on their shoulder. Not to say that they weren't getting in the gym already and working hard. Like Ava Hayden, hasn't been, she was all Big Ten. Like there's nothing that she was like snubbed from or anything like that. So certainly, but she's still getting in the gym and going to work and trying to get better. But it's also nice to hear some of these other players like, man, this thing's really stuck with me. And I should actually go back. Ava's upset about the Virginia loss as well. She mentioned it. But it's just to say that like there are a couple players on this team that have an extra thing that's like, man, this has really been motivating me. We talked with Jocelyn Faison as well. Didn't play a lot at Georgia as a freshman. Was a 4-star at high school. She kind of mentioned, maybe a little extra chip on the shoulder of not getting to prove herself in the SEC last year, never getting that opportunity really. Played like 6 minutes a game or something. So all of a sudden you have all these players that you have the returning players. They're all pissed off about the Virginia game last year. You have several of them saying, it stuck with me for a month or 2 before I got over. I rewatched it a bunch of times, stuff like that. You got Journey talking about I should have been all freshman team. Mm-hmm. You got Jocelyn saying like, man, I would have liked to get a shot at Georgia. And that's the type of stuff that you're like, that extra motivation can really lead to a lot of gains over an off season. So that's something that's really stuck out to me, is how many players have kind of brought up these extra motivating factors. It's not just, I want to get better. I want this team to be good. It's like, hey, this thing's really stuck with me. And it's really been an extra motivator this offseason.
Kyle, you got to talk to 2 newcomers, new faces, I should say, when it comes to Bria Medina and also Jocelyn Faison. Kind of talk to me. I think I had it right. Faison?
Yeah.
I guess we'll start with the transfer from Georgia. I guess I am reading some things. 6'1", long, lefty. What'd you learn? What'd you hear about? And what'd you get from her?
Yeah, I think she's kind of an interesting player because she is 6'1", so she's kind of like a bigger guard. Maybe not like she said she played 1 through 4 in high school. Now I don't know about her at the 4, maybe. I don't know that she's quite like that. Now she's taller than like Journey Houston, but she's lankier. Got a lot of length, which I think is really going to help on like the defensive end. It's kind of like Lucy Olson, had like good length on the defensive end, but she's taller than Lucy Olson, which is really going to help. So whatever role that Jocelyn, carves out, whether it's a few minutes here and there or a legitimate role in the rotation, I think defensively, just having the wingspan that she has is really going to help in terms of whoever she's guarding to cut off some passing lanes and things like that. But in the live reps, you saw a couple of plays where Jocelyn was able to take it to the basket and, has that ability to get downhill and get to the basket. And I think that's something that Lysandra Barrett probably saw when she recruited her when she was at Georgia Tech. Obviously, they didn't land her. She goes to Georgia for a year, but Lysandra was her recruiter when she was at Georgia Tech. So that's probably what Lysandra went to the coaching staff and said, hey, here's what I saw at high school. She can do this, this, and this. She can defend. She's got good length. She's got good height at a guard spot. So that she's got some intriguing things, and I haven't seen a lot because obviously, there's very limited. There's like a highlight thing or 2 from her high school days, and obviously playing only a couple minutes a game and not really playing many minutes in close games at Georgia. There's not a lot out there. But in terms of kind of the things that you first see when you see her run through a few drills and things like that, there's some interesting things with her. And obviously being a 4-star recruit with a handful of decent Power 5 offers, there's something there. And I said this way back when she committed to Iowa out of the portal. A 4-star recruit had some decent offers, doesn't really carve out a role at Georgia. Probably a low-cost option out of the portal. She's not commanding much money because she didn't really do anything at Georgia. But the pieces are there where it's like, hey, if she ends up carving out a decent role, it's a player that you probably didn't really have to give any NIL money to, and it could end up being a steal. So it's still really early, but I do kind of like, the look of her. And if she does get into a role, I think there's something there for her.
Finally, Bria Medina goes from playing in front of hundreds and maybe not even Z at the end at Knox College to getting and obviously she hasn't played at Iowa, but to Carver Hawkeye Arena. How has her transition been so far? What did the coaches say? What did she say about her transition from Knox College to the University of Iowa?
her transition was slowed because before the first practice in a player-led scrimmage, she got took an elbow to the nose from Amari Whiting and broke her nose. So yesterday was actually her first full contact practice. She was doing no contact drills and things like that. So again, no contact in basketball. People are like, well, that's very different from no contact in football. It just means she's not running through live reps and things like that. She's just running through the regular drills, which was fine because they were doing a lot of kind of drill work early in some of those practices. But finally got to go through in some of the live reps today. She said she had to get her nose completely reset, so it must have been a pretty bad break for her. But the thing that she mentioned, jumping from D3 to D1. Is that even drills, like not just the live reps, but even some of the drills, it's faster. There's a more attention to detail, things like that. And then when you get into some of the live reps, it's just bigger, faster, stronger. She said everything's just better about being at the D1 level. But she's just trying to get as much information as she can right now. Try to learn, not only the system, but just kind of the transition. She's very much kind of like probably even lower than like a freshman in terms of just, freshmen have to make that transition from high school to the Big Ten, but a lot of them, like a McKenna Velichko, have probably played at a high level on the AAU circuit and have played some of these other 4- and 5-star players like that. So maybe the transition's slightly easier coming to the Big Ten. But for Bree, playing at the D3 level, the transition is even more stark for her. So just trying to get adjusted to that and then go through, like I said, the drills being a little bit more attention to detail, just being the reps are faster, everything about it is just different because it's the D1 level. But she has a really good mindset about it. I talked with her when she committed to Iowa. Has a really good mindset that she knows this is a great opportunity for her, whether she gets a role on the carves out a role or not. This is a great opportunity for her, and I think for the most part, from what I've heard from her, that she's really taken things the right way since she's been on campus.
Kyle, we've a few more. We've said Lysandra Barrett's name a lot. Obviously, you guys talked to her yesterday, but even in the stories about recruiting, and she's been integral in landing several of these young ladies as well. What has she meant to this program in what, only a year and not even a year, a little more maybe? I remember having her on the show last year and she was figuring out where to go buy a snow coat and warmer clothes. And I feel like she's made a heck of an impact in 14 months, if that's about what it is. Your thoughts on Lysandra and what she's meant, not just on the court with these young ladies, but recruiting wise and just being an energetic, uplifting face of the program, or not face of the program, but part of the program. Your thoughts on Lysandra?
Yeah, I think from a high school recruiting standpoint, we haven't quite. Now she is the lead, the one kind of running the recruiting. So she's the one setting up, I think setting up schedules of which coaches are going where and things like that. So she's kind of like the lead recruiter right now. But in terms of players, we haven't really seen her because she comes from the southern part of the United States. Played at LSU, was at Georgia Tech for a while. We haven't really seen in terms of recruits, in terms of offers or things like that from that southern part of the U.S., which I think eventually they'll get into. The one thing we have seen is obviously the international game with Ella Stromdahl, who's going to come over in the fall from Sweden. I think Lysandra is kind of the one that really has pushed maybe getting into that international game a bit. So if they do end up getting in that a bit more and more, I think that'll be kind of her that's kind of pushing that. But certainly from the transfer portal aspect, they have 3 players on this roster that may not be on the roster without her. I don't think Chit Chat's on this roster without Lysandra Barrett being here as an assistant coach. I don't think Danny Carnegie's probably on the roster without her being an assistant coach. And Jocelyn Faison, I would probably say the same for her. Now, Jocelyn did say if Iowa reached out when I was in the portal and Lysandra wasn't here, I still would have considered Iowa because it's a great program. But I still don't know that she's coming to Iowa without Lysandra. So that's 3 players that she either coached, obviously coached Danny Carnegie and Chit Chat at Georgia Tech, and then recruited Faison when she was going through the recruiting process out of high school. So that's where her impact has been, is getting a couple of transfers on the roster. And then certainly the recruiting aspect, they've still recruited very well. And I think that will continue to go well. But I think if they do get into that international pool of players, it's going to be Lysandra that's kind of brought that up more than anyone else. But yeah, a great coach, like I said, a very good player at LSU, and when she was back in her playing days, and is now in her biggest role of her coaching career so far. And I think she's handled it very well, like you said, in a very short amount of time to bring in the players that they have out of the portal in such a short amount of time. Getting Chit Chat right away when that was like less than a month, like weeks after she took that job, they were able to get Chit Chat on board. And that was a huge addition. And now to get Danny and Jocelyn, it's certainly paid off in the transfer portal for sure.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us. Last one for you. I know he was on yesterday. He's out in Vegas, kind of focused on the future, maybe of Hawkeye basketball, and then maybe the past as well when it comes to the summer league games in the NBA on Friday. You're heading over later this morning for a men's open practice media-wise. Your expectations, their first one this offseason, what's on your radar, I guess, as you get ready to head over to Carver once again?
Yeah, it's going to be a busy day. I think we have 7 players available after practice to talk to. So, yeah, that'd be a day where I'd really like Tom to be there. I mean, it'd be one of those days where if Tom was here, I would be like, hey, yeah, I'll come over and help out, because 7 players is going to be tough to get to all of them.
Sure.
Before our time's up. But yeah, I'm really interested because maybe they don't have quite the newcomers that the women's basketball team has, but they certainly have some newcomers and some players that'll be interesting to see just for the first time. And really, without Bennett Sturtz, this team obviously takes a different look because Bennett was relied on to do so much. I mean, play every minute, be the leading scorer basically every night, and to not have him on the roster, just to kind of see how things go. Whether we get to see scrimmaging or not, who knows? But just to kind of get to see them. Even with some returning players, it's going to be a new look Iowa team with some newcomers, a couple of transfers. But it'll be interesting to talk to some of the players, just kind of hear how the summer's gone so far. It doesn't sound like it's going to be assistant coach led. Ben McCollum's out on the recruiting. Tom's out there in Vegas doing recruiting. I think the coaches are going to be out there as well. So I don't know who's going to be there running practice tomorrow. But certainly coming off of a run like they had to the Elite Eight. I think we talked about this briefly, probably way back in whatever, March, April, whenever the season ended, about how when you have a run like that all season, all of a sudden the expectations change. This is a program that hadn't been to the Sweet 16 since whatever year. I don't know off the top of my head what it was. But all of a sudden you make it and the fans are like, well, we got to make it to Sweet 16 every year, right? Yeah. Elite Eight every year because we just did it. So just to kind of hear from some of the returning players, just how do you kind of take what happened last year and making the Elite Eight? And obviously you want to get back to the Elite Eight, but how do you kind of make sure that you're not going into the season like we have to do that again? Obviously you want to, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just kind of hear, what their thoughts are on taking last season, be excited about what happened last year, but knowing that this year's a new year, and just kind of get their thoughts on all that stuff. But certainly a lot of excitement around the men's program. I've talked about Tate Sage is kind of the guy that I've really been impressed with. I think he's on the list to talk tomorrow. So similar to like a chit chat last year, being in her first year, now taking that step in her second year in the program. What is Tate Sage like when he's got that year under his belt? Kind of had a breakout run there in the NCAA tournament, I think. What is he talking about tomorrow now with a year under his belt? Is there a little bit more confidence? I don't know if there can be much more confidence because I think he's a pretty confident guy already. He doesn't seem very scared by everything, but just kind of guys like that have now had a year at Iowa. What are some of the things that they're going to be mentioning? Like I said, a lot of excitement around the 2 basketball programs at Iowa. I'm
going to be counting the pictures of Andrew McKeever on X with everyone saying, "Wow, he's as big as everybody thought he was." 7. So take your tape measure with you. Try to get him measured completely so we know if he's 7'3" or not. From the looks of things, he's all of 7'3".
It's going to be a test for Dennis to get pictures because we have now, it won't be a test for him to get pictures. He'll be able to get them. But it'll actually be a test for me and Tom to try to get him into our article, whatever dimensions that we have, and not cut him in half trying to get him into the pictures. Because we have strict guidelines of how big the picture has to be. So he might not be 7'3" in those pictures. He's going to be 4 foot tall in those pictures so we can get him in there.
If anyone can make it work, it's going to be Dennis. I have no doubt about that at all. Kyle, appreciate it. Have fun at Carver later today. And everybody can check out everything that Kyle's doing at HawkeyeReport.com. And we mentioned Dennis's pictures and Kakert's working with Ben McCollum. God only knows what those two are doing. And can you imagine? There should be a reality show called Ben and Tom Invade Sin City. And be probably the boringest reality show in the history of all reality shows. They'd probably sit in there. One would watch basketball and the other would watch basketball, I'm assuming. So,
Kyle, when we find out that they aren't actually gambling and it's just the whole show is them just watching basketball.
Yep, that's the thing. It's going to be disappointing. People are like, oh, this is going to be great. And it's just, they're as boring as they might seem. So, Kyle, appreciate you. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, that is Kyle Huesmann with the Hawkeye Report. We said it with Tom, but especially right now, football right around the corner. You got basketball open availability for media for men's and women's. Tom's out in Vegas with the summer league and also the recruiting. So tons of stuff at thehawkeyereport.com. If you don't belong and you don't subscribe there, shame on you. Get subscribed ASAP. We got a lot more to get to. You watching OTA. It's a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. For over 65 years, Linquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Linquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
or electrical,
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. We talk a ton of sports here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo, and that's the kind of the goal. It's a sports-centered show, but we know we talk about any and everything here on OTA, and that includes media, local media around the area, and hot topics maybe as well. And a few weeks ago, some disappointing news happened when it comes to iHeart. There were layoffs both in Des Moines, which a lot of people were affected in Des Moines, and then also right here in the Quad Cities. And several really good people and very talented people were let go at iHeart, including this young man. And I say young in quotes, Mark Manuel joins us.
Yeah. Lots of air quotes on that one.
Are you okay? Everybody needs to know Mark Manuel's still alive and everything's good, right, young man?
Everything is good. You know, when you get into radio, you kind of sign up for this. You ever watch WKRP in Cincinnati?
Yeah, absolutely.
The opening line of the theme song is town to town, up and down the dial. So that's just kind of what you live as a DJ.
Yeah. Well, kind of, I mean, we're going to talk about your journey and a bunch of great stuff as well, but take me back a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it was blindsided is the good word for it, because I don't think you were blindsided, but take me through maybe a meeting that you don't love having when you're in this business, in this type of business.
Yeah, I could kind of see things happening a couple of months before all the cuts happened. And then the day before, they sent out an email like, oh, okay, I don't know if I'm going to make this one or not. Heard some rumblings. And then at 9:30 in the morning on the 24th of June, I got a text, Mark, can we meet at 10:30? I'm like, well, here we go. So I had to drive into work, and the rest is history, as they say. You know, the timing of it was really good, though. Our daughter got married that weekend. Wow. So instead of worrying about getting a company email that I have to address or whatever, I could focus solely on our daughter, Frankie. And then we have our first grandchild coming at the end of this month. Could happen any minute now. Who knows? Wow. So I've had a lot of things to occupy my time and not worry about the radio so much.
You mentioned not blindsided. What is that moment like? What's the feelings afterwards? Because like you 40 plus years doing radio, and I think it's going to be plus because you're going to figure something out and it's going to be great on the other side as well. But 40 plus years of doing something, what's it like walking out of that building for the last time? I mean, I did it at WQAD 25 years after doing it. I packed my stuff up and left, and it's a lot of memories. I'm assuming. What was that afternoon or that morning like?
It was a little surreal. I mean, I've been through it before, and I think this time it was a lot easier because I wasn't blindsided. The previous two times I was blindsided. This one, you kind of knew things were happening. iHeart had made some cuts, prior to this. We had a whole bunch of cuts in 2020, just like everyone else did. So you knew that eventually it might happen to me as well. So I wasn't blindsided. Maybe that made it a little bit easier. But emotionally, I've been on the radio in this market since 1991. I don't know if I'll continue being on the radio in this market. So that's a little hard to swallow. But I've always said when a door closes, 10 of them open for you elsewhere. So you just go, hey, I might find something to do that's not in radio, but that I still love.
How has radio changed? I know that's a long, we could probably do the entire 2 hours, but
well,
especially
let
recently.
me tell you, back in the days when I used to queue up records on the turntable with the vinyl
Stop. No, but like, honestly, like, I don't want to say in general, but especially of late, I mean, the iHeart's gotten a lot of backlash. I don't want you to get in trouble and say anything that's going to affect anything for you, but like, where it's going and having people like yourself, like Luke and Howell, people like that and you look at, I mean, y'all doing great. Where is it gone? And I guess maybe explain to people their thought process, if there a way to think about that thought process.
I think all big companies look at technology and look how much technology has exploded, especially since the pandemic. They never had stuff like this,
I'm doing this
before the pandemic, unless you had thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So now that they've been able to exploit technology, like, well, we can save a lot of money for the investors if we do it this way, et cetera, et cetera. Will this work for them on a local radio station in Davenport, Iowa? I don't know. But time will tell. Yeah. And they might a year from now go, well, we really messed that up. Mark, you want to come back? Who knows? And I'd probably come back.
Yeah. You look at it too, and I love that point about it, Davenport, Iowa, or the Quad Cities. Like, I think what people see big picture wise, we've had management come through local TV wise that I had a news director tell me one time, nobody cares about sports. In the next year and a half, if you want to continue to work here, and this was a while ago, but if you want to continue to work here, we'd love to have you, but you need to transition to news because we're not going to be doing sports the way you think sports needs to get done. And that's a guy from New York that came in that was used to watching
Right.
the Knicks and the Yankees and Mets all on ESPN and thinking, we don't need this. It's a unique market. Do you agree with that? Because it's just,
I do.
It's the Quad Cities. They want this kind of stuff.
You know, you look at smaller areas like this. Like if you go in Chicago, I doubt the local TV stations spend much time talking about high school football.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, you built a whole half hour, 45-minute show around it.
Yeah.
And all of us would tune in to watch. I went to Davenport Central, so I'm like, I want to see how the Blue Devils did. Yeah. Our kids went to West. If we didn't go to the game, hey, how'd the Falcons do? Over in Moline, same thing.
Yeah.
So I think in these smaller markets, there's a greater sense of community here than there might be in a New York City or a Chicago.
Absolutely. Mark Manuel joining us off there with Matt Randazzo. Mark, I want to go back. I know it's 86, I think, is when you got into this crazy business.
Yeah.
Maybe 91 around here. I go back to the Malibu Mark Manuel days. You were the soundtrack of my teenage years. Kind of take me through the beginnings. This was love at first sight. This was the voice. Kind of gives you away. Like your voice. I mean,
right.
I don't know, obviously, but whenever you started, I mean, the two marry together. When did radio become your love?
You know what? It's funny. It was in college, my freshman year. I went to Iowa State. I was a journalism major. So I thought about writing for the newspaper or doing news on TV or something. And they had a campus radio station in the basement of Friley Hall, which is this massive dorm over at Iowa State. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. And I kind of stuck with it. I really grew to love it. By the end of my freshman year, I had locked in a job at the commercial top 40 station downtown Ames. And I think when I was in my summer school classes and fall classes, and they'd read off Mark Manuel, and girls' heads go, the radio guy? I'm like, this is the job for me.
I love it. Going through it, you got to the Quad Cities here, from here, obviously. When you get back and that's what people said to me, like, hey, did you ever want to go to this market or that market? I guess everyone thinks everyone's dream in local TV or TV sports is to be on ESPN and to be on SportsCenter.
Right.
And I just said, like, this is what I wanted to do. Growing up, cutting grass, I would listen to K-Jock and Wild Man Dan Burch, and I'm like, they're paying this guy to talk sports for 4 hours a day or
Right.
whatever it may be. This is an amazing gig, but I never wanted to go elsewhere and talk about sports. I wanted to talk about Iowa, Illinois, the high schools, the Cubs, Cardinals, Bears, Packers, those kind of things that are unique to our area. Was that for you? I mean, when you got back to the Quad Cities, is that what you wanted to be, is a Quad City DJ here on the radio?
It was funny. My goal in radio when I was young was to be on a station in Chicago, maybe be on Kiss FM in Los Angeles or Z100 in New York. Those were my goals at the time. But then as I got into my career a little bit and I grew to know some of the people on those stations, are like, Mark, I hate to tell you, it ain't any different than it is in Oskaloosa, Iowa. Yeah. There are no differences. It's just bigger money, but it costs you more to live there. So I think having grown up here, I know where all the bones are buried. So I was able to relate better. And you'll find that most of the on-air talent in, say, Chicago are Chicagoans. They grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't go there from other towns.
Absolutely. Mark Manuel joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I want to talk about Malibu Mark Manuel. That's what I grew up with. Is there an era of your career that, I don't want to say you loved the most or or stood out the most, but you obviously have to evolve when you're on the radio for 4 decades. Talk about the evolution of Malibu Mark Manuel to everything in between.
Well, funny how I got the name Malibu Mark Manuel. I used to do these teen club appearances at a place called Off Limits in downtown Bettendorf.
Yes.
Remember Off Limits?
Yes.
So they had these Malibu beach parties on, I think, Wednesday night or something. So I'd go down there, I'd host it. And the guy who cut the commercials talking about this going on and that, and Malibu Mark Manuel is going to be there. And of course, everyone's making fun of me. Malibu Mark Manuel. I'm, you know what? I'm going to use that name. And it's stuck.
That's amazing.
So I'm like, yeah, okay, Malibu Mark Manuel it is.
So how long did you go by that name?
I like a year into being on 98.9 is when I started. And then after 98.9 got sold, I moved to Madison, Wisconsin for a year where I just used my real name, which is Mark Manuel.
Yeah.
Came back to Cool FM. And like, well, we'd rather you not use the Malibu nickname, blah, blah, blah. What's funny about that, it was kind of short-sighted. I used to DJ weddings on the side.
Okay.
And I would always meet with the bride and groom early on and then about a week before the wedding. And we have a meeting and we'd be talking and all of a sudden I'd say, they go, were you on the radio? I'm like, yeah, Malibu Mark Manuel. You're Malibu Mark Manuel? Wait a minute. I told you my name was Mark Manuel. What part of that didn't you get? Really, so I really kind of wish I had stuck with the Malibu Mark Manuel this whole time.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Is there a favorite part of your career, favorite? I keep on saying era, like you're this dinosaur, but like you've been through a lot of it. Was the Power 98 night days like I would assume, you know, those were a blast.
Oh, All Hit 98.9 was awesome. I think because I was in my late 20s when I started there, so I was still young, still had hair in the back of my head. The Top 40 is probably my favorite format to do just because there's so much energy. I will tell you, we had 3 request lines into the studio, and I don't care what time of the day or night it was, all 3 were ringing.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it was just so much energy, and you go out to do remote appearances. You got so much going on. I met a lot of, celebrities in my time there. Then you move on to more adult stations where it's like, well, I'm a mom. I don't have time to call you.
Yes. Right.
Unless you're giving me Mississippi Valley Fair tickets, I don't have time to call in. Absolutely. So it's just a different thing. You look at it in different ways. But yeah, for sure, 98.9 was my favorite era to work in radio.
I want to talk to you about some other people because Pat and Luke both were laid off as well. Can you talk to some of the other? It seems like a family in radio. It was, at least on my end in TV, very few people I didn't like. We could do a show about that. That'd be an interesting show.
Right.
But for the vast majority, I mean, you've seen it here, like from Dan Pearson to Tom Cornelis to Jay Kidwell. Like, I mean, they're great people. Joey Danya has been on. So talk about it. Is it on the radio side like a family where you're in it to win it with each other? You understand everybody else's trials and tribulations, if that makes any sense?
It is. It's funny when something like this happens. One of the first two people who reached out to me were Dwyer and Michaels.
Wow.
And if you're in Des Moines, they have a big radio show here in the Quad Cities. They were the first two people to reach out and say, Mark, I just heard. I am so sorry. Bill's like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. So, yeah, even though we're competing, we all go through the same stuff with our corporate owners. So we all get it. And we all want the product on all the stations to be better. I think TV is probably the same way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would joke with, not joke because it was true with Dan Pearson. I spent more time. There was about a 5-year period in my life when he was at Channel 6 and he was the weekend guy. It's crazy that Dan Pearson was was the weekend guy, but he did Saturdays, and you had Dan and I'm running around crazy. I saw Dan more than I saw my wife, which is probably why I'm still married, is because I saw Dan Pearson more than I saw my wife. But like, you get it, you understand it, you go through those kind of things as well. What do you listen to radio as much now these last couple weeks as you used to? Or has it been I'll be honest, when I left WQAD, and I didn't leave, I left on my own will, but like I kind of didn't watch as much as I used to, and I probably still don't now, and that's no knock on them. I mean, one big thing is I'm in bed by 10:30 at night, but do you but I know at the beginning I was like, I just need to kind of get away from this, so that, like, because it was tough to walk out of a building you've been in for 25 years. It's different for you, same for you? Do you still watch yourself or see yourself listening to the radio as much as you had?
You know what? I do a little bit. I should probably silence my notifications on my phone. Yeah, you know what? I do still listen to radio. I'm going to give a plug for the iHeartRadio app. Yeah. And I don't know if you can zoom in on this or not.
Yeah, we got you.
I've got some presets. You got that? So you can see what I listen to. WCBS FM in New York, WKRP in Cincinnati's back. And I listen to the local stations too. I'm a horrible person to travel with, Matt. If we were to go on a road trip together, you'd be, Mark, quit changing the station. You know how people listen to the radio for their favorite song? I want to hear what the disc jockeys are saying. Really? So I'll listen to a station, they'll do their thing, and let me see who else is on. My wife is like, would you please stop?
I love that. There's something too, like, and that's what I would say about the radio. My kids, they just like, hey, if they want to listen to a song, they find the song and listen to it. And I mean, I remember growing up being in the car, and you get in the car and like, oh, the song's on. Or you'd get home and they'd say like, hey, coming up, we have this song. And you're like, I want to hear that. So I would sit in the car an extra couple minutes. My dad would be like, get out of the car. No, but my favorite song's about to come on. I love that. There's something to, or you're driving along and you hear the song you've been waiting to. You love those kind of things as well. I'll also say this when it comes to, I do the same thing when we're on vacations. I don't know if I do it much anymore, but like I'll watch the local news. We were in Anchorage, Alaska, and my wife's like, hey, you ready to go on a hike? And I'm like, hold on, I want to see what they do with their news here. And she's like, why? Right. I'm like, because I wanted to see what it looks like, how they approach it. A lot of the stuff's the same. Some things are different. So it's the inside the baseball stuff that I think we kind of enjoy.
Do you find you're a little hypercritical of some of the people on TV? Like, oh, he should have done it this way. What was he doing?
100%. Or I'll find myself defending people. And even when it comes to like, I'll do it more with like play-by-play, because I've been doing more of that with MC22 and those type of things. And it's not always easy. And so you'll hear like, we'll notice a color commentator or a play-by-play guy say something incorrect, and my kid will jump on him, and I'll be like, take it easy. Right. It's not always, they misspoke. It's not that big. So I find myself defending them as I go along.
I will say that play-by-play is far harder than I thought it would be. At one time, I thought I wanted to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And this would have been just a couple of years out of college. The late Tony Little and the late Coach Jim Fox used to do, and I had to save Jim Fox's life as a senior in high school in life-saving class. That's a whole nother story. Wow. But I was up in the booth. They're like, hey, do you want to jump on? I'm like, yeah, I want to give this a shot. Tony was talked to the next day by the program director. don't let Mark do that anymore.
Yeah.
I was horrible. And you realize just how much knowledge of the sport you have to do it. So I have a lot of I know people love to bag on Joe Buck and the whole thing. You know what?
Oh.
I won't, because I just know how tough it is to do. And you have to have you have to have an inside knowledge of whatever sport you are doing.
Yeah. Think about how much we misspeak in life. Like, I can't get my kids' names correctly ever. And
Right.
then you're on a good example is last year the Lions were playing I can't remember, but one of the commentators kept calling Brian Branch Deion Branch. And I'm like, well, because, and obviously it's a way different player and stuff, but I'm like,
oh yeah,
I remember Deion Branch. I can do stupid stuff like that. So I was like, just ease off of him. Mark Manuel joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A few more before I let you go. I love blank the most about radio. This is what I love the most about radio would be blank.
Boy, that's a real tough one. I love the idea that I put a smile on somebody's face. We've all had bad days. And I have met people when I'm out and about, like, you know what? I was going through a divorce, or I was going through this, but you got me through that with all the funny, wisecracky things you said on the radio. I think that's probably the biggest thing of it for me. Meeting all the people, we used to be at the Mississippi Valley Fair 6 days in a row. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to go there again. I loved it because these people are coming up to you and you feel like, okay, I'm making a difference for somebody's life. I'm not just spewing out whatever.
Well, that's a great point. I would think the same way when I'd get an athlete that would come back to the Quad Cities and say, you know what? I remember you did a story on me, and I'm like, oh, or you called a game. I'm like, I didn't even realize it, but like it meant a big thing to them. You affect people's lives with that kind of stuff. I know a lot of doors have opened up, and you don't know what you're going to do next. But do you have any ideas or thoughts of what might be next?
Well, you know what? Since this is primarily a sports show, I just wanted to show off, and this will be great for you. I wanted to hang on.
Other way. There we are.
This is why I keep TV weather, folks. Look at that. There's my share of stock with the Packers.
You honestly
so I am
have that.
I am a part owner of the Green Bay Packers. Don't just call it a share of stock, Matt. I know you're a Lions fan.
Yes.
I am a part owner. When you look out at the end zone and you see that blade of grass, I own 1/3 of that blade of grass. Here, this is I have a whole Packers office down here. Here's something else kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
This is my Bart Starr autographed picture.
Look at
back
that.
when Roger Craig had a sports bar down by where the Isle Casino is.
Yeah.
He'd bring in these athletes, these pro athletes, and Jim O'Hara got that for me because I couldn't go.
Oh,
and then
awesome.
This one is especially cool because he is a Moline grad. This would be my Ron Hallstrom photo autograph from Ronnie. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
So now we can say we talk sports a little bit too.
Let's talk a little more sports. This season's coming up fast. The NFC North is loaded. I'm a Lions fan. I'm excited. I think they're super talented. I think they can get back on track. I don't like the Packers. But I don't hate them the way I hate the Bears. I hate the Bears because of this. I don't like the Packers because they've beat me for so many years and they deserve to be good and they've won Super Bowls and they've won the division so much. And I don't like the Bears because if you take away a year or two where they had a decent season, they're very much like the Lions. They're Lions-like. Right. So I don't like being made fun of. Like, if Dumbo came on my show and made fun of me for having big ears, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute, you have big ears too. That's the way I look at the Bears. It's like the Bears will be like, the Lions stink. I'm like, we all stink too. So that's why I don't maybe hate the Packers as much. Now, I tell you that now. I hated you on Thanksgiving last year. I hated you on the times that you swept us, I think, last year. Your thoughts of this season? I think the Vikings might be, because they're so well coached and who knows what happens with Kyler Murray, they kind of worry me. The Bears are the Bears. I think they regress a little bit because they can't get sorry Bears fans, they can't get as fortunate as they got last year. People don't like the word lucky, but they can't get as fortunate. I think the Packers are talented. They got Micah Parsons. They're going to wait to get fully healthy, but he will be healthy. The Lions are the Lions. Your thoughts on that division, I guess, before we let you go.
I think the division is a really, really tough division. My worry with the Packers is we sank so much into Micah Parsons. He's one player. And if you looked at last season, we didn't lose games really until he went down. We didn't win a game without him.
Yeah.
So my big fear is what happens, how far in are we going to wait to play him? And it's football. Players get injured. If he gets injured again, there goes the season.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Love is a great quarterback. He's even surprised me a little bit, but you got to have that offensive line to back him up. You got to have good receivers that when they throw it at the numbers, they don't drop the ball. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into it. And really, any of these teams, I don't care what division it is, you're only 1 or 2 injuries away from going, well, next season.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened. And I know injuries are a thing in football, so that's what people say is like everybody gets injured. But I mean, 2 years ago, the Lions lost Hutchinson and Ali McNeil and everybody on that defense. And then last year, they lost both safeties. And I get it; it's part of football. But like at some point, you got to get lucky as well as stay healthy. Do you hate the Bears like I hate the Bears then?
No, it's funny. My cousin Craig, who lives in the Cedar Rapids area, he is a diehard Bears fan. He hates the Packers. Hated Brett Favre, really hated Aaron Rodgers, can't stand Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And, this season, the Packers didn't fare so well against the Bears. I heard about it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't hate any of the teams. I even cheered on the Bears back in '85 when they went to the Super Bowl. I cheered them on then. I cheered on your Lions a couple of years ago when they had those runs. I'm like, oh, They have a good team put together. I think part of it with the Lions is for the longest time, they're kind of the doormat. They're like, oh, the Lions, they're not a real team. And then all of a sudden they got things put together. I'm like, I would love to see a team that's not the Patriots with Tom Brady go to a Super Bowl.
No, absolutely. Mark Manuel, you're a better man than I because, or more mature man than I because I hate the Bears.
Well, yeah, by like 30 years.
Not that many. Trust me, I'm getting there. Before we go, you don't know what the future is, but you're excited about it. Just kind of talk a little bit about that before we get out of here.
I've talked to the radio group that was formerly across town for me. I've talked to them. I don't know if there's going to be anything there. Don't really want to move. Our daughter got married. We got a grandchild on the way. I would like to stay in the Quad Cities if I can. Mentioned technology earlier. I've got this whole rig here. I can do a radio show anywhere in America from my basement in Northwest Davenport.
Isn't crazy.
So I would love, if I find a normal Monday through Friday job, I would love to be on a radio station, maybe just on the weekends.
Yeah. You know what?
Just to kind of stay in it a little bit.
I'll tell you this: you will have no worries, no issues. You're super talented.
I'm not worried.
That's not the that's the obvious thing here. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for always being good to me. You've always been awesome, nice. Gotten to know you over the years. I hate to see what happened with those guys. I hate to see it in the newspaper and everything else that happens. Local media is important. I think the Quad Cities will continue to echo that as we move on. Thank you, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Hey, Matt, thanks for reaching out. Appreciate it.
That is Mark Manuel. As we mentioned, the Malibu Mark Manuel stuff, like that's awesome to me because that's what I'm listening to and loving. And I'm positive that he will continue to do great things here in the market. 40 years of doing radio. And with that voice, shame on him if he's not doing it with that voice. I'm very envious of that. We got more to get to. We got Dan Pearson and our FCA story of the week coming up right after this. Craving hungry hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to OTA here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesdays mean, of course, Dan Pearson and our FCA story of the week. Of course, people are a little confused. We had one yesterday. Didn't get the chance to run it last week. John Deere Classic, busy as can be, so getting caught up with it. Today is actually Wednesday, and it is time for our FCA Story of the Week. Of course, Dan Pearson, one of the legends here in the area and in the Quad Cities. The Princeton High School volleyball team has its first head coach in over 25 years. His replacement was yet to be born back in the day. As FCA's Dan Pearson reports, Coach Libby Boyles brings a youth movement to the court, but also is part of Princeton's rich history. Here's Dan Pearson and our FCA Story of the Week.
The introductions go way back. All of the Princeton Tigresses have known their new head coach since they were little girls.
She's actually my club coach in like 7th and 8th grade. And I feel like a lot of the girls are just really comfortable with her already.
We already know how things are going to go this season. We know the expectations and how things are supposed to go.
That new head coach is Libby Boyles, a 2022 Princeton High School grad, just the 6th head volleyball coach in the program's 53 years. She played for the all-time coaching wins leader, Andy Puck, who retired after 24 years leading the Tigresses.
I'm just really excited to put all the puzzle pieces together. I see a lot of my 19 faces that I've been seeing this summer. I see a lot of them here today, so we're gonna connect some dots here.
There's plenty of talent and plenty of depth for the coach to choose from, but there's plenty of opportunity for the players. 5 starters are gone from that talented squad a year ago, and if there's any question of how they're gonna get on the court, they don't have to look far.
I come in with a competitive edge. Everybody knew that about me in high school and college. I was always competitive, I wasn't always the most talented and naturally gifted player. It was something that you really had to work at. So those are the type of players that I love to see coming through.
An assistant coach last year, Boyles has been an up-close and personal observer of the Princeton way.
All of our sports programs start from such a young age. We have such good youth athletics when it comes to summer camps and everything. So those kids start in junior high. They are already ready. We build the program from the junior high up. It doesn't just start in high school.
She's only 22, but has the ear and heart of her players, who embrace the fact that their coach is already a part of the program's storied history.
I mean, you can see all the numbers up on the board up there. I mean, we try to work our hardest. We're very dedicated to the program for sure.
I feel like the message this summer is to just have a lot of positive energy and be hardworking on the court and communicate well together as a team.
They're so close in age with me. I know my boundaries, I set my boundaries, but we have fun when we're at practice. That's the whole point of playing volleyball, is just the love of the game. I have the love of the game, and I can just feel it every time I walk into this gym that all of these girls do too.
It boils down to excellence and effort, relationship and love of the game, as Libby Boyles brings a special youth movement to the Princeton court. With the FCA Story of the Week, I'm Dan Pearson.
Thank you, Dan, for the Story of the Week. Of course, you can check out more on FCA, the FCA Story of the Week, also on WQ80 on the Score Sunday, and then also on Tuesdays as well. We appreciate Dan. High school sports, it's a little bit of a lull right now. Obviously, softball and baseball going on the Iowa side of the river, but football season in the fall is right around the corner, and volleyball season part of that as well. Well, yesterday on the show, I brought up towards the end, just kind of in passing, I saw the CBS Sports ranked the top 25 players under the age of 25. And I went through it pretty quick, and I had several people actually reach out and say, hey, you went through that too quickly. Like, where was everybody exactly? So again, it's cbssportsline.com. It's 25, under the age of 25. And we start number 25 with Colston Loveland. I'll read you what they said about him. It was a slow burn to begin for Colston Loveland's rookie season, but the Bears tight end came on strong down the stretch. His 58 receptions are the most by a Bear rookie tight end in franchise history, and 47 of those catches came over the final 10 games of the regular season. If you project those final 10 games over a full season, Loveland was on pace for roughly 80 catches, 1,015 receiving yards, and double-digit touchdowns. He also kept a torrid pace going in the postseason, tallying 12 catches for 193 and in 2 games. He's primed to make a leap to stardom during his sophomore season in 2026. I'll say this about Colston Loveland. I think of the Bears' weapons for Caleb Williams, he, I believe, has the most upside. I think with injuries and things you saw with Roma Dunze, I would worry about that. I know everyone loves Luther Burden. That's fine. But I got to see it to believe it. I got to see it over a full season. I got to see it more consistently as well. Colston Loveland, I agree with this. Now, I don't know exactly where it ranks around all the players under the age of 25, but I would agree. Colston Loveland, of the weapons for the Bears right now, I believe has the greatest upside. Joe Alt is 24. Sauce Gardner was 23. Cooper DeJean was number 22. Cooper DeJean is one of the faces of the Philadelphia defense, especially their secondary, which is one of the league's best units. After winning the Super Bowl as a rookie, DeJean followed that up with a first-team All-Pro campaign in 2025, blossoming into one of the best slot corners in the NFL. In the slot, DeJean did not allow a single passing touchdown this season and tallied 2 interceptions. He recorded 93 total tackles, second most on the Eagles, and 4 tackles for loss among the Eagles' best among the Eagles' defensive backs. So Cooper DeJean, I gotta go back to that draft, and as a Lions fan, the Lions traded up for Terrion Arnold. Also got Enos Rakestraw in the second round, who's been injured and obviously knows Terrion Arnold no longer with the team. And you look at he wasn't around, but Quinyon Mitchell, who we'll talk about here in a second, to Philadelphia, and then Cooper DeJean was available, and he was a fantastic pick. Of course, went number 40 overall. I think the Lions probably could have got him twice. I think he was probably gone by the second time around. But anyways, Devon Achane, number 21. 20 is Trent McDuffie. 19 is Drake London. 18, George Pickens. 17 is Jalen Carter, so another Eagle. Derek Stingley Jr. is 16. 15 is Quinyon Mitchell, so a third Eagle. Jared Verse, number 14, which I think obviously everyone loves the trade for the Rams when it comes to Myles Garrett. But Jared Verse is a really good football player and really, really young as well. So he came in at number 14. 13 is Christian Gonzalez. 12 is Kyle Hamilton. 11, Brock Bowers. 10, Devon Witherspoon, former Illini standout. Number 9 is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's way, way, way too low on this list. Number 9, especially when Jaden Daniels is number 8 and Caleb Williams is number 7. Mind you, different positions. Quarterbacks are probably going to be ranked higher. But Caleb Williams is there at number 7, ahead of Jaden Daniels, which I believe is correct. Pairing Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams did wonders for the young quarterback. The former number 1 overall pick broke out in the 2025 season and helped the Chicago win its first NFC North title since 2018. Williams became the first Bears quarterback since Sid Luckman to win a playoff game within his first 2 seasons in the NFL. His 3,942 passing yards last season was a franchise record. Also, that's, a low bar to jump over, but see if they get to 4,000 this year. Williams finally looked like a generational quarterback he was billed to be as he entered this league in 2024, which I think is complete nonsense. I think he looked and flashed it, but he didn't come near the consistency that he needs to have. But, of course, that's just entering the first season under Ben Johnson. They note here, entering year number 2 with Ben Johnson and his system. It'll be fascinating to see how high Williams can climb among the NFL quarterbacks. I believe that completely. He's not a finished product, but if anyone thinks right now that he's a top 5 or 10 quarterback in NFL, he's not. I know people get mad at completion percentage and drops and those type of things. He had a lot of bad throws. I go back and I look at some of his best throws in the fourth quarter, and I go, man, like that's a great throw to tie the game up against the Packers with 54 seconds left to get to 13 points. Like they had 6 points all game. The last game against the Lions of the regular season, they had 2 scoring drives in the fourth quarter. Yes, fourth quarter scoring drives. Those are fantastic. Quarterbacks want those. It's the rest of the time. The flash plays are there. The throws are there. We get that. Trust me, I don't hate Caleb Williams, but I think he's got a lot of improvement to be had, and I think Bears fans realize that as well. Most of them do as well, but they have a reason to be excited. I get it. I understand it, but he's number 7 on that list. Will Anderson Jr., number 6. Jackson Smith Njigba, number 5. Number 4 was Drake May. So there's where the controversy maybe comes in with Caleb Williams or Drake May. Jaden Daniels is right there as well. I'm guessing Bo Nix is over 25, which I'm sure he probably is because he's going into season 3 and he was probably 23 when he got in the league. So he's probably not available to be on this list. Penei Sewell, number 3, stud, future Hall of Famer. Puka Nacua, number 2, and number 1 is Bijan Robinson. I don't think Bijan Robinson is a better running back or a better football player than Jahmyr Gibbs. I just don't. And I'm not being biased with my bobbleheads from the Lions. Production is one thing, and just the way he affects the game. Bijan Robinson is really good, had a good season last year. I still think Jahmyr Gibbs is much better than he is. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was too low on the list. I'm trying to think who I think was probably too high. Probably Bijan Robinson would I think is somebody that's too high as well. Again, 2 Bears, 2 Lions, no Packers, no Vikings, and a former Hawkeye when it comes to Cooper DeJean. So that's a more in-depth look at that. You can go check it out right now at cbssports.com. Love these type of lists. I think they're fascinating. We're going to do more of them over the next couple weeks here at OTA as we get ready for August and we get ready for football season. So there'll be a bunch of fun. If you disagree with anything I'm saying, weigh in. I get it. There's a ton of Bears fans. Again, not hating on Caleb by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got to be better this year. They're not going to get the luck. They're not going to play the teams they played. He's got to be in positions more often that he doesn't have to make a crazy play in order to win a football game. And I know it's the NFL, and a lot of games come down to the final minutes. But there's certain bad teams this year he shouldn't be beating at the very end. They should be beating early on so they don't have to do that at the very end. We'll see if he makes that step, that progression. But obviously, from year 1 to year 2, you saw it when it comes to what Ben Johnson can do with a quarterback and an offense in general, because that Bears offense was predicated on running the football, which is what it was in Detroit. People get confused that Ben Johnson equates to throwing the football all over the football field. No, he wants to run the football and then have that play action and have the balance that they had last year in Chicago and they've had in years past in Detroit as well. So, man, football season, get here. I cannot wait for football season to get here. We got one last time out. When we get back, we'll wrap up today's show and look ahead to the rest of the week. You're watching OTA. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? there's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. I am starving. I need to get some lunch. I need to get some Snoops in my life as well. Welcome back to OTA here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. I want to thank our guests for joining us. Obviously, a lot of talk yesterday about the Iowa women's basketball team. The media got a glimpse of practice, some availability as well. So Kyle Huesmann was along to fill us in on that, what people talked about yesterday. A lot of Journey Houston love, which we love here in the Quad Cities as well. So if you missed Kyle, go back and check out Kyle as well. Wanted to a few weeks ago get caught up with Mark Manuel. Obviously, the iHeart cuts affected people in Des Moines, all over the nation, here in the Quad Cities as well. Mark Manuel was one of those guys. Malibu Mark Manuel, as we talked about from my days growing up on All Hit 98.9. Great to just chat with him, talk shop, talk local media. Great that he's got a great mindset about what's going to happen. I guarantee you he will be back making an impact here very, very soon. So excited about his future. But if you missed that fun segment, go check that out as well. And then also Dan Pearson with our FCA story of the week, and talked a little NFL top 25 under the age of 25 as well at the end of the show. So make sure you check that out if you missed it as well. If you missed anything this past week, please go check it out. Pat Anger was fantastic on Monday. Also, Andrew Lehman was on the show. A great weekend from the John Deere Classic. Monday's show was packed. Yesterday's show, Davenport North baseball team, excited to see what they do this postseason. Bryce Pauly and Colin Karstens joined us. Bryce, one of the best players you're going to find in high school baseball, should hear his name drafted sometime this weekend as well. And Colin Karstens has done a fantastic job as the head coach over at Davenport North. So check that out. Tom Caker was on yesterday as well. Today we mentioned that. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to catch up with Deanne Kramer, former Pleasant Valley athletic director, just retired, left an impact on local sports, both at Pleasant Valley and at other stops as well, Davenport Central and other places. Also impacting what females can do in the world of sports. We'll talk to her about her impact in that area as well, coming up tomorrow on the show. Also hoping to have Tyler Tashman on the show tomorrow as well to talk a little bit about Iowa men's basketball. They're having an open practice as we speak. So get to that timeline, check things out, and then we'll talk much more about it coming up tomorrow right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Then Friday comes and we are off into the weekend. We will have a full week of shows next week as well, except for Friday. Friday I'm going to be leaving town. The following week we will not have shows here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. It's family vacation time for the Randazzos, so that's exciting, and hopefully I survive. And then we'll be back and ready to rock towards the end of July and into August and all of the things coming up. Quick notes coming up on August 14th is Iowa Football Media Day. We'll do our show once again live from Kinnick Stadium, and the football practice facility is actually where it's from. But looking forward to doing that once again. Should be a fantastic, fun show. Last year's was awesome and a ton of fun. And then also August 9th will be our View from the West kickoff party from the Other Bar in Moline. We'll talk to you guys much more about that as we get ready for high school football, especially on the Illinois side of the river with those knuckleheads coming up on August 9th. So some special shows coming up, and we're going to continue to pack that up. Nest Guest is returning right around the corner. I'm excited about that. It's crazy. It felt like we just got done doing that, and it's back once again. We'll take the show on the road on Fridays and get to different high school stadiums and talk a lot about high school football on Fridays as well. So a lot to get to. We want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you to our sponsors as well. Thanks for listening to another edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow.